It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. Brother here,
Yes,
I
sir.
wish I'd be coming to you with some better news, but you know what? That's championship culture, dude. It's time to celebrate. Because even though last Thursday, the news shocked the Wrestling Foundation, because we can arguably say, before there was a Stone Cold Stunner,
Hmm.
before we knew what a tribal chief was, before we even called it an era with attitude, or even say, hey, is this the reality time? There was one man who slammed his way into the hearts across the globe. Hulk Hogan just didn't win championships. He made them legendary. From waving the stars and stripes as the WWF champion to a spray painting a big gold, Hogan held gold that defined decades of wrestling and made us the fans that we are today. It's no better time but to say it. Let's get to it.
Ooh,
Mhm.
fire, fire,
Fire, the fire got you? Because you know what I got
imagine
to
fire.
He let that fire. It's the bird. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Wrestling Round Presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy, and he's none other than HASTHE, so the
The
3RD.
3RD, yes, sir.
I'll call him Brother Hugh. And you know, just like we like to say, every belt has a story. Welcome,
Hmm.
Brother Hugh.
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Hugh.
What's
Fresh
going
off
on?
the road trip. And I know you were on
Hmm.
the road when you got the news that,
I sure
and I
was.
said it in the intro, it shook the foundation because the foundation is painted with yellow and red. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
it's fair
Yeah.
enough to say because usually a championship culture, we like to break down belts, we like to celebrate wins, losses, moments, and a lot of our moments are rooted from one man who kind of pioneered, changed the face of the game, a legacy who will be remembered by slamming giants, waving a flag, whether it be America, whether it be red and white, whether it be a boa. It became a global icon that was synonymous with those colors, right? But
Hmm.
how much of the legacy was built upon gold? Brother you, I think it's time for championship culture to pay tribute to the immortal Hulk Hogan. What say you?
Let's do it.
All right, so in true championship culture style, you know I gotta ask you the age-old question. When we think
What's up?
about Hulk Hogan, what's the first title that comes to your mind?
Nah, I mean, of
You say it,
course.
and I purposely didn't ask you this before now. Ladies and gentlemen, I just stunned Brother Hugh because I didn't know the answer to this question. I'm pretty sure
Nah,
he knows my answer, but
I was gonna say the first one that jumps in my head is probably the first one that jumps into everybody's head, which is the Almighty Winged Eagle. I don't.
mhm.
Hey, I'm not a fan of it, but it's one of the most prestigious, legendary belts out there ever made. So that's the first title that I thought about. Then I thought about one of the ugliest titles I've ever seen. That big
What
green
was-
strap. Oh my gosh, bro. What is that?
so, Brother Hugh,
Yes, sir.
you going all the way back in history, and
Way back.
if history serves me correctly, right? Hulk
Hmm.
Hogan had been wrestling early, late '70s, early '80s, right? Really
I thought
building
it was like
into
the
the Hulk
40s.
Hogan. It wasn't that far back.
But
Um,
nah, yeah, you're right though. You're right.
but in January of 1983, the only reason I remember it because
Hmm.
1983 was a good year. The big green belt was named right due
Yeah.
to the size of the strap. belts at that time were a lot smaller. If we could see on screen how we have the championship logo, the belt was probably about this size. But now it was on par with like what we would know now as the big gold. It became the big green belt because of the big green strap, because of the larger than life superstar who was holding it, because we went from people like Bob Backlund, the Iron Sheik, and now Hulk Hogan, who
Hmm.
won this championship. And this is usually the first belt that's associated with this coming of age, coming of superstar, because this is when we were transitioning from WWF of um, the old regime to the Vince McMahon regime, right? And the
Right, right.
Hogan Big Green, we're gonna call it that, was the first strap that he won. And brother here, let's talk about that belt. Why is that the first one that comes to you? Well, you said the Wing Eagle, but why is that one of the ones that come to your mind?
Because like I said, it was ugly as boo boo. Good
What's so,
Lord.
so let's put it back on.
Look,
So tell the people about this belt.
like
Let's hear
like like I said, y'all know I'm a small dude.
it. Mhm.
So when it comes to the strap, I don't like those big, thick, wide straps. And I should have I don't have the other picture on there, but if you look at the strap, there's actually five side plates on each side of the main plate. So that's a total of 10 side plates on that strap. Imagine fitting five side plates on each side for that strap. Imagine how wide that strap is.
Mhm. And it was
And
definitely
a little guy like myself trying to put that around me, that bad boy would be up across my chest, covering my nipples. That's how big it would be on me. That's why I didn't like it, to be honest.
so tell me about the center plate. What's so simplistic but unique about this belt?
It's all gold. Literally, it's all
All
gold. Yep.
with
I
four
like how they
stone,
have you see your stones. I was just about to say
with
it.
the
The
red.
stones are on there.
Hmm.
You got a couple of them
And
on there. You have the torches, and then you have just simple right in the middle. The guy, the wrestler holding up the championship title in
in
front of the
front of the
globe,
glow.
signifying what he's the world champion. And also the little the rim around the edge, which is I want to say it's like a rope.
Like
What
a
did we call
braided
it earlier,
rope or
Brian?
braided corded.
Braided
It's
rope.
like a braided rope
Yeah,
or braided corded. That
yeah.
style is ever changing because depending on what type of knot you have on a rope.
Hmm.
Sometimes with belts, they use those to represent like the ring ropes or things like that. Like they'll have those different types of intermediate texture around it to outline a belt. You saw it prominent in the big gold because it was one of those etching around an actual belt buckle, but you can see it kind of resembles the ring rope. So,
Right, right, right. Brother
so,
Brandon, how do you feel about this title? The
so
design of it?
I have an issue with championships, and I know I'm probably going to get flack for this because the IWGP version 4 did something similar where it listed the former champions on the side. I
Yeah.
really didn't like that because I feel like, all right, you put me on there. Let's say I won it in 1983, but then I won it in 1984. Do I get another plate or do you have to update my plate? So I always didn't understand why they were putting the champion's name on it. But during
Hmm.
that time, that was when we were having record long reigns. So it's few champions, but they had longer reigns. So in an era like today, could you imagine trying to do that with a Intercontinental Championship or a, let's say, WWF Championship right
Yeah,
now?
it wouldn't work. It wouldn't
It
work.
wouldn't work. So I never really cared for it. It was a simple circle design in the middle with squares on the outside. Not a lot of flash, not a lot of glitz. It was just a big green belt. So it's insane because it just didn't feel like it screamed champion to me. It felt like
Hmm.
it was a prop, more like nothing prestigious, nothing great or regal, the things that we had grown to love. Because some of the ones that came after, because soon after that championship, for a very brief time, we saw a WWF iteration, which was very similar to the NWA television title, but it was silver and black. Well, ironically, during Hulk Hogan's first run, he had four different titles. So that was the first one. The
Right,
second one
right.
was in the NWA style. And it
Hmm.
was always interesting to see that belt float around because the side plates, bingo. This one modeled just like the NWA um, World Television title, except for now you have WWF World right under it, heavyweight champion, heavyweight wrestling across the center, and then champion on the bottom and on the side plates. They kept that individual champions' name and their lineage on the side, but that
Yeah.
looked like every other championship. And that was around for a short amount of time. And I know a lot of people get integrated with the names because you call these the Hogan whatever year. And this was
Right.
a brief period because even it was the 84, some of them was dual plated, some had the main plate the silver, some had engraved red letters. It depends on what variation you see, but this is around the 84. But then 85 gave us a black and silver of that. And
Right.
and then we moved on to, I believe it was 88 was the next iteration
Now we went to the
in that one.
86 belt.
86,
86
I
title.
skipped 86. So the Hogan
Mm-hmm.
86 belt, where that belt was the one that most people are synonymous with. And there's so many different variations of this. I think he sold this
Yes.
in the Hogan Beach Shop. This one was more of a championship than the big green to me
Mm-hmm.
because the Hogan 86, everybody recognized because the center plate was a globe. Heavyweight wrestling champion. No need for a nameplate, no need for a side plate, no need for the previous champions to do it. And a lot of these are considered the Hogan something belt because he's the only one to hold these. And
Right.
it's crazy because the Roman columns on the side, because you know how wrestlers were the lineage back to that, the different globes on the side, everything about it was kind of synonymous for what a world championship was. And then there was a
Very simple
small
design.
period, very simple but very impactful. And
Mm-hmm.
on a previous episode of Championship Culture, where we talked about the ROH World Television Championship, the inspiration came from a belt that's kind of a little mysterious. Um, but we can kind of consider it a custom belt because for a small period of time after that Hogan 86, we had this version, which, if you look at it, is what the ROH World Television title was modeled behind and the Impact Tag Team belts. And this was a smaller plate that had his face on it. It's been on record that it was used on house shows, never really made it to TV. It's kind of
Right.
considered like a hidden gem. And this was in between the time when they created the, oh, I mean, Andre Giant belt, but it was so unique. It felt like it was a downgrade from the previous version, if you really think about it. But that was the one I always recognized because I've seen that belt duplicated so many times because of simple design. You add a little razzle dazzle, a different flair to it. It kind of works. So that's the insane part because I believe his first run was like what? Um, was it like over how long
It was
was
four
it?
years. It was
Four,
4 years.
yeah.
I can't
Almost
remember
Roman, almost
the
captured. Yeah, I
actual.
can't
What
remember.
was it?
What was it like
14?
17 or 14 or 17?
No, I don't know. I'm not
I
sure. I
know
gotta double
somebody will
check.
fact check us in the comments.
But
If you're
yeah,
in the comments,
it was
fact check us
Justin.
because I can't remember if it's four. Yeah, Justin's here. He'll be able to tell us if it was 14 or 17. But it was insane because from that to
1474.
1474. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this man and a lot of these belts are called the Hogan year because he had four iterations during his first run, which is insane because how many people can actually say, I've had different versions, house show circuit, main show circuit, WrestleMania 1, it was a different belt, different things that happen because as we move on, yes, he defeated the Iron Sheik at 84. Um, it kind of
Yep.
reshaped the meaning of a champion if you really think about what Hogan was doing. We got to go back in time to a different time of how we consume wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have a house show here in Baltimore, and you might have a house show in DC and in Virginia, but that might circle back in 6 months and you get the same thing again. But what they did here, let's say DC and Virginia, might be the same exact thing, or the way that they tested to see how the crowd is going to react. And it kind of shaped how we consume because we saw this man transition to not only merchandising, Saturday morning cartoons, mainstream, whether it was a good or bad movie. It wasn't for him winning a championship, it was the way that he carried himself as a champion. It branched
Yep. Yep.
into mainstream to the point where, like, you couldn't 1985 to what 95 you didn't you knew who Hulk Hogan was, whether it was in
Right.
movies,
Right.
television, cartoons. Was this portion about the immortal Hulk Hogan more about him or the character? What say you, brother Hugh?
It was one of those instances where the superstar was bigger than the title. He was bigger than wrestling, as a whole. That period when he won, I want to say 84 when he won it from Sheik. That was a transition period from actual hardcore, like actual wrestling, like grappling and technical moves, into transition into more of the entertainment aspect of what we know today. And like you said, that's why he was so pivotal. That's why he's considered as a legend now today, and possibly the pioneer of what we have today. Him and another guy that we don't tend to talk about too much, and Mr. Vince McMahon. But if it wasn't for those two guys, we wouldn't have the product that we have today. So he paved the way for stars like your Roman Reigns, your Rocks, your Austins, those guys that can go mainstream, have that crossover appeal, that can make wrestling larger than life. It wasn't just grappling anymore. It's entertainment. It's something that you can slap a brand or a logo on and you can make money off of now. It's more of a business. That's what he did for wrestling.
And if it wasn't for the Hulk Hogan, when you say brand, that's interesting because I think that's where a lot of superstars in nowadays are missing that boat. Hulk Hogan
Hmm.
laid the foundation that we knew Hulk Hogan as that entertainer. Yes, he was a
Yep.
wrestler, but that's how we are enjoying The Rock right now because of that foundation was laid. Like, yeah, when people say Dwayne Johnson, we wouldn't say Terry. He's always been Hulk Hogan. He's always been that person, just like The Rock will always be The Rock. I don't care how many times he's in movies, the common person
Yep.
knows who Dwayne The Rock Johnson is, but they know he was a wrestler. Hulk Hogan transcended that and laid the blueprint that they could follow, even to the point anytime you break into the business, you kind of use his foundation. The championship was
Absolutely.
there, but how do I make myself more relevant without it? How do I get in these sports? And I think The Rock successfully did it. John Cena has successfully did it. Batista has successfully did it on a smaller scale because when he started making those movies, he's a bona fide action star. He's actually, he's done this. Is he as big a name as Hawk? No, but did he use that blueprint of let me do this in wrestling? Let me become something that kids can glamour behind, get behind. The parents are going to bring them to the show because they brought him to see Cena for years. They brought him to
Yeah.
see Batista because he was cool with the bomb, the pyros. That's why they blew the pyro budget on Batista all the time. Then
Right.
he's in
Right.
superhero movies. He's in action movies for the adults. Same Hulk Hogan trajectory, right? And that's where you can talk about the man we don't say had that
Right. Right.
foresight to say, okay, how does we transcend this? Because we're going to bring it back to our product anyway. And let's call it what it is. We can
Definitely more
talk
focus
about.
on definitely more focus on character development for sure.
Hmm.
For sure.
And,
It's not about wrestling anymore, like you said earlier. And I know a lot of
and
people
partic-
talk about, hey man, it's creative freedom and this and that, whatever. But a lot of decisions that he made were actually great for business. It made
a
money,
lot.
right? It did what it was
Mhm.
supposed to do. So can you really be mad at him? You know
But
what I
you
mean?
can't.
So
So let's talk about that creative freedom
hmm.
because I look at it a little differently, right? We talked
Yeah,
about the early years, right? And I was wrong. It's about 94. So from, let's say, 84 to 94, we had American flag waving, eat your vitamins, look what I'm doing. I'm the superhero that these kids and the kids will get behind and want to be when they grow up, but adults have somebody, a role model, right?
right,
Um, I don't know if the women were glamoring to see him or what. I don't know. I'm just going to say you had
right.
this hero. So competition is there. And Eric Bischoff, one of the things about who killed WCW, said, I need Hulk Hogan. That's the only way he knew he would win the war that they were in. And
Absolutely.
from 94 to 99, correct me if I'm wrong, right? That was the time
Hmm.
frame where we got 6 world title reigns. We could talk about the Bash at
Absolutely.
the
Yep.
Beach, which is probably that moment when he realized, and I don't know what's real and what's fake anymore, but let's just take it from the aspect of breaking it down from a wrestling fan.
Hmm.
We knew we were getting Hulk Hogan were there. Us
Right.
wrestling fans, we kind of get tired of rewind and play, rewind and play, rewind and play. We always want something new to get behind. We need something new to cheer for, right?
Right.
And that infamous bash at the beach, right? That's what happened, right? The heel turn.
Hmm.
I think that that was necessary to put his stamp because you never want to just say, like, let's say Rey Mysterio, right?
Right.
If he retires tomorrow, he's always going to have that question of, dang, I never was a heel in WWE. What could I have done? We've seen what Rey Mysterio without a mask can do and all that stuff early on in career. But the most of Rey Mysterio's career has been every time we see him, the legend of Rey Mysterio, the legend of Rey Mysterio. We as
Right.
wrestler
Right.
fans had been seeing the brand of Hulk Hogan, and now in this new company, you're doing the same thing you did over there. No, we're here
It
for
didn't
a
work.
reason. We're here because we don't want to be over there. We don't want to go watch that. We don't, as Brian said, we didn't want to be across the street. So now we're here trying to see what's going on. And you're giving us the same thing that you gave us there that we left and we're not watching. He had to give us something new.
The
And
wrestler was in
by
that
God,
transition period. Yeah. Definitely.
was that
Definitely
go
shifted
ahead.
to more realism.
Go ahead, brother. Hugh.
Shifted
Take
to
it
that
away.
real
You
world.
know where I'm going.
So I mean, honestly, if you want to be honest, that was the beginning of the Attitude Era. Let's be real, right? Am I
Mm.
wrong?
Go ahead,
You know what I
continue.
mean? That
Go
shift, that shift, that that was arguably the greatest. It's not even arguably. That was the greatest heel turn of all time. That was the greatest transition of all time, right? Turning your biggest star ever into a heel, and the way he did it, it just made sense at that point in time, and it elevated WCW to levels that were astronomical. What was it?
ahead.
83 weeks? 82, 83?
Yeah, I know what you call it. Bishop always says I cannot
Straight
remember the
up,
number. Right.
83.
And that's
It
it's only 52 weeks in a year. So for a year
you
plus,
beating Vince? Yes,
almost a year and more than a year and a half, right? Because if it's 52 weeks, half of that, 80
yep.
something more weeks, a year, you are destroying a product to the point. We got new gear from Hulk Hogan because we knew we was getting, right?
You get new
Yeah, the pants
attitude.
were on there because he went from,
Yep.
I know realness hates change because he went from the trunks to the pants and now he's black and white. He has dirty finishers, a dominant stable of the guys that we wanted to see because we know they left across the street and they were doing something different here, but they wasn't acknowledging that it was different. But you knew it
Yeah.
was something different because that's why I was tuning in. And now you add the biggest star in the industry in with these two guys that's doing something different, right? Was
Yeah.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan better than the yellow and red Hulk Hogan?
I know. I liked him better than Red and Yellow Hulk Hogan.
Mm-mm,
That
no, and,
his regular babyface gimmick was so corny to me when I was young. Like it still is, but I could never get behind him. And I don't want to talk bad about him, but like I just personally, I just never really cared for his character. But I understood what he meant to the wrestling business, even at a young age. There was a reason why he was the top guy. You can clearly see it. He oozed charisma. He had the aura. He had the crowd in the palm of his hands, no matter where he went. So it made sense 100%. But I just couldn't get behind the gimmick. But when he went to
okay.
the dark side, I was like, okay, I like this new attitude. I love it. And I'm a big fan of Razor Ramon, Sky Hall, Diesel, Kevin Nash. He was cool. He was cool. He wasn't really my cup of tea, but hey, I'm with it. Let's go. I couldn't be mad at the outsiders. Loved them as a tag team. So when all three of them got together, it was curtains for me. I loved it. It got old
Mm.
fast. It got old fast for me though. Let's be real. Once the whole roster joined the NWO, I was like, okay, all right, now we're doing too much. All right, for real.
It
Who
was
else
too
is there
much for
left?
you. What's up?
Yeah,
Look,
who's left?
you
It's
know,
the NWO versus Sting. That's literally it. Like Sting can take on 72 people. Okay. Oh, and Goldberg. I know Goldberg can take on 72 people at one time.
but think
So
about it. That was his presence added so much that everybody said, I need to
so
be with
much.
him because they're opening or closing the show. They're opening mid segment. They're closing. They are what people are coming to see. This is what's cool because had it not been for that change from red and
Hmm.
yellow to black and white, it probably would have killed WCW, but it probably helped not only resurge it, it helped keep them afloat and it helped give them a fighting chance. And when we talked about
Still
that
selling
we could
merch to
talk about
today. That's
the,
crazy, right? Still selling
the
merch.
NWO
NWO
merch, and
merch
people
everywhere.
people do this.
Our
When you
own
see
guys,
wrestling fans, this is
cut
out.
a promo. Our own guys cut a promo, an NWO based promo.
And Eric Bischoff loved
Hollywood
it.
loved it 100%.
Think about it. What do
That's
you do with a
that
wrestling fan when you see each other? You don't high five. You do
too
this, right?
sweetie. Too sweetie for
Which
life. Throw them
mhm,
up.
for a lot. And let's talk about that because, and I'm gonna go off script a little bit because when you say he could read a crowd, he could understand the crowd. The
Hmm.
next best person to do that was The Rock. And remember that
Absolutely.
WrestleMania match, and Rock went on record saying he realized we gotta flip this because they could read
Flip
the
the script.
crowd. We were so invested in that black and white Hogan that we were like, this is coming to real life. And The Rock recognized, arguably being the biggest babyface at that time,
At the time,
right
yeah.
in that match, because you're gonna say him Stone Cold. I don't consider Stone Cold a babyface. Let me say that because everybody in the comments probably gonna kill me. Stone Cold was the it factor for WWE. Babyface heel, with it was Stone Cold. We knew what we were getting, right? But the
Right, right,
ones that people were losing their mind, they lose their mind to see Stone Cold, but it was a different level. Because who better to wrestle Hulk Hogan in that moment, but the person that had his blueprint and was trying to move forward with it, right? So
right,
for them to
right.
shift the whole story, and then we turn around and get another revert back to the red and yellow was beyond my realm of comprehension that we
It's
went
crazy.
from 10 years of this, almost 10 years of that, it being cool in WWE coming back, and then it's like, hold on, wait. This has killed the whole NWA story, NWO story. I say NWA, NWO storyline in WWE because Hawk went off undisputed champion, Russell Undertaker, Triple H, tag team champion with Edge. You know, we saw these things happen that you wouldn't think. We
Right.
thought his career was over, but they found a way to make it happen. Even to the point you're like the Mr. American gimmick, which we see would lay the foundation for El Grande Americano, but that's for
Right.
another time. Um,
All three of them. Yeah.
yeah, he gonna be one of. I can't wait for a mural where somebody put all of them on there because you know Los Conquistadors is gonna be on there too.
Right.
I'm just waiting for somebody to put that on there. But
Right.
brother Hugh,
Yes, sir.
as we talk about that of Hogan, right? So we went through the beginning, the shift, but you know with championship culture, what we got to talk about
What's that?
before the WWE Championship, right? There's a belt
Mm-hmm.
that's been arguably put out there that he won the first IWGP Heavyweight title, right? In
Mm-hmm.
1983. I'm gonna say he won it, but it's some reason, back
Mm-hmm.
in them days, word traveled differently, stories was created. Um, it says he never officially held the AWA championship, but he's recognized two different times as AWA
Right.
champion. I talked about the tag team championship with Edge. We talked about the undisputed title when he beat Triple H for it at Backlash. And this is 2002. Who thought from
2002.
84 into 2002 we're going to be talking about Hulk Hogan as a champion, right?
Yep.
Was this
Wasn't
a
supposed to be that way
nostalgia
for
pop?
sure.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about just the Universal Championship. I'm sorry, Undisputed
Undisputed.
Championship.
Undisputed.
Undisputed Championship. Was that a nostalgia pop, or was that a let's let this man ride off in the sunset?
It was definitely a nostalgia pop for sure. Come on now. Like you said, they realized greatness and they realized that they had to make that turn at WrestleMania, right? Once they made that turn, they realized how over he was when he came back in that red and yellow. I remember it to this day where I was. I was in the basement watching it on the big screen, the big booty screen, yeah, the big, yeah. I was
With a big
watching it.
back.
Yes, it came back. They introduced Hulk Hogan and his music hit. I was like, oh my God, they brought him back. I was low key happy. I ain't even gonna lie. I was like, okay, that's cool. Because at that point in time, Hollywood Hogan was done. When he came to WWE, I was just like, all right, cool. NWO is not the same, right? But when he came back in that red and yellow, that pop was astronomical, and they had to, like I say, I always said, you got to strike while the iron's hot. So you had to put the belt on because he was the hottest thing at that point in time, even more over than Triple H, who just returned. And mind you, I just went back and watched the pop from when he returned in 2002 from his quad injury, and Triple H's pop was crazy. Measure that 10 by 10 when Hulk Hogan came back with that red and yellow.
Hmm.
They stopped Triple H's run short because he was hot. He was the hottest thing in wrestling at that point in time because Hulk Hogan came back and he gave him the belt the next pay per view after WrestleMania, which is Backlash, right? He didn't need it for too long. He didn't need it at all, to be honest. But they gave it to him. They got the pop. He lost it what a month later to Undertaker, but it was definitely a nostalgia pop. He
And
didn't.
it
He
was
didn't at
I'm
that
sorry,
point in time. He
comeback of the
did.
year, right? That was
Yeah,
that comeback of the year of
yeah.
2002.
At that point in time, he wasn't holding any other talent back because who was? I felt like who else would you put in that position right then and there to be champion? Because I felt like Triple H was going to be champion for a while if that turn didn't happen at WrestleMania. If the fans didn't react the way they reacted at WrestleMania, Triple H was going to still have that belt for a while. That's what I believe anyway.
And who better but
So
the
most,
Undertaker to take it from him,
so,
who we got history with.
absolutely, absolutely. So most definitely, that was a nostalgia pop. Same thing with his
Mm.
tag title run with Edge. It was no way. Nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted it at all.
Nobody
Nobody
asked for
asked for
that.
it. No,
Nobody asked.
right. But Edge being a childhood, like that was his childhood hero, right? But you give
Hmm.
him the opportunity. Edge was one of your top guys at the point in time. And you give him the opportunity to tag with his childhood hero. You had to make it happen. You had to make it
And
happen.
they didn't have a long run. It was long enough
They
to
didn't.
say,
It wasn't
look what it
necessary.
is. And they both were. Then they both were red and yellow. I think Edge
Yeah,
won that too,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um. So, and I'll
Wasn't
say this
necessary.
about the. I think it was necessary to get it onto him because that's when Undertaker was the American badass, right? And that's when
Right,
he got it back, but he lost it to The Rock to get it on Brock, right? That was on
right,
that time, right?
right,
Because
right.
I don't want to say hot potato because I know that term is used interesting, but I will say this about it. It was a necessary evil, but they gave him a six title reign because that was his sixth WWF title reign.
That was it. Yep.
And it was during a time where if we don't do it now, this it probably would never happen again. It probably if it wasn't at that point, he wasn't going to get it. Now I think they realized this might be the last run. Um, but why not go ahead and let him have it? Because even so, later in the year when he won the tag titles from Edge, that was during the time that it was a lot of just random tag teams. That's when he had the two separate
Yeah,
belts, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, why not? And I think they only held him for a few weeks just to say,
It
because
wasn't
they
that
won
long,
it on the
but
SmackDown,
he
right?
was. Yeah, he was fizzling against Billy and Chuck. They were fizzling
Oh,
out.
yeah,
Like his popularity, like it wasn't as hot as it was before when he had the championship, the undisputed championship. But he was
gotcha,
still hot enough to put that title on the tag titles on to make him relevant at that point in time. You had to get him over
gotcha.
Billy and Chuck. Let's be
Just
honest.
a Wow, you didn't look good to me. If
I
anybody
hated that.
remembers that,
No, 'cause look,
you
I hated
know.
that gimmick for Billy Gunn. I was a huge Billy Gunn fan.
Oh,
So
we know. Oh, you
when
didn't
he
know?
when he got into that tag team, I was just like, okay, like all right, cool. And just the gimmick, I just couldn't get with it. Now together, Chuck Palumbo and Billy Gunn, they actually could have been like a real good tag team. Because Chuck Palumbo can go too, to
You
be
know what I
honest.
hate about tag teams? Don't split tag teams up just to take the one into another tag team. I hate
Yeah,
that with a passion.
yeah,
Like, oh, we
yeah.
not. I lost my tag team partner, but then I got somebody else. And we like when Edge and Christian, then it was Christian Alliance Storm. I'm like, why?
Right.
You know, like
That
I
was the
hate when they do that.
un-American state. That's what they lost it to, right?
Is that
I
no? Is
think
that what they
I think
lost?
they
Is
lost
that
it.
what they
I think
lost
they
it to?
lost it. I think they
Hold on,
lost
I
it to
might have to
Christian
fact
Malay
check that.
Storm. Let me.
Oh, it was. Oh
Yep.
yeah, it was. That's
The
crazy now.
un-Americans.
Is that why I remember that? Because it was the
Right.
other tag team winning it. Um,
Yep.
yeah, because they lost it a few weeks later. I remember it was a very short reign. But brother
Very
Hugh,
sure. Very sure. Yes, sir.
I think wrestling and gotta address the elephant in the room. regardless of what has been said, reported, whatever people's feelings, emotions, because all wrestling fans have feelings and a lot of things are wrapped in emotions, right? But
Hmm.
when you strip all that away, when you look at why we're fans, it's a lot of names attached to that why we're fans. And when I say a lot, we can say the the Bret, the Shawn, the Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, um, Savage, Roddy Piper, Bob Backlund, Bruno San Martino. You could say every name that you can think of.
Hmm.
But why the entertainment is into wrestling has to be credited to one man. And that's the part that I don't think that people are understanding. World Wrestling Entertainment, yes, the federation was there, and the
Right.
Worldwide Federation was there. But World
Right.
Wrestling Entertainment and entertainment as we know it, whether it's in All Elite Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action, Ground Breaking Wrestling, Major League Wrestling, whatever, they have those aspects where people have to cross into entertainment
And
spaces
sports
because
entertainment
of the work that
nowadays.
this man did. So
Yep.
we can call it wrestling, but at its core, we were watching wrestling different until this man broke down barriers. This man broke down and showed that wrestling was cool and wrestling was something that everybody can enjoy in some way, shape, or form, whether it be a movie, a television show, a calendar, a mug, an action figure, a billboard, you name it, a talk show. You know, we ain't see too many wrestlers on talk shows before Hulk Hogan.
Sure didn't. You
I mean,
didn't.
I don't remember an interview until he came around because was Ric Flair on talk shows? It might have been post him, but I don't think it was really on television as much because he was the one that people were paying to see and paying to see in multiple places,
Hmm.
wanting to see in multiple places. Yes, we can say that about Ric Flair, but could we say that without Hulk Hogan? Because yes, the territories was being ran by Rick. He was holding down
Right.
the titles. He was doing that. He was loved in every city. But what is he on my 7 o'clock news when I click to
Nah,
say
top
what
heel.
wrestling is coming tonight?
Top heel.
Was
Then
I
you gotta
coming
think
on
about,
Saturday morning and seeing that cartoon?
you gotta look at the appearance of Hulk Hogan too. Like we always say, wrestlers have to pass that airport test, right? He did that at that point in time. He was what,
Hmm.
about 6'7", 6'8", very noticeable. Jack dude. Everybody's gonna notice him. There wasn't too many guys out there walking around like that. And you know what I mean? Like nowadays, you'll see that on a regular, to be honest. But back then, you're gonna spot him out in a crowd of everybody because of his height, his stature, and then when you talk to him, his charisma, just his energy. You're gonna feel that, right? So
Hmm.
100%, 100% is because of him that we got what we have today, and that's why he was the top dog. Not a Ric Flair at that point in time. Ric Flair was one of the top guys out there at that point in time. Don't get me wrong, but he had that little extra something over Ric Flair that made him the legendary superstar that he is.
And that's why I think that we, as wrestling fans, can't deny that aspect. Any final thoughts, brother, here? Because I think that kind of sums it up.
It does sum it up for me. For the most part, I think we did a pretty good job. Now, like I said before, wasn't really a fan of him as a person or as a wrestler, but I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect what he's done for the industry as a wrestling fan. For me, I'm a proud wrestling fan, like I said, but he's done a lot for the industry, and 100% we got to give him his flowers for that.
Perfectly said. And with that being said, brother, Hugh, you know what I'm gonna say. Make sure you comment your thoughts on the Immortal Hulk Hogan. Let's keep
Hmm.
it as you like to call him Uncle Ben, but Ben from
Oh yeah, Uncle
Championship Bell
Ben.
Brothers. Uh,
Right.
what do you say? Leave it drama free and sucker free. Let's um let's keep championship culture positive. So when I say make sure you comment your thoughts on this episode of Championship Culture and the legacy of the immortal Hulk Hogan, whether it be about a belt or a moment,
Hmm.
or whether it be about something that you just understand as a wrestling fan that this moment made you feel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a chance when we go live and when there's a new episode of Championship Culture. Follow us on all social media platforms. And don't forget, tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for the next episode of Championship Culture. And until next time, keep your eyes on the goal and remember, let me hear it, Hugh.
Every bell has a story. One more
And
time.
I can't. Every, every belt
Every
has a
bell
story,
has
and
a
I can't
story.
wait to hear yours.
Peace out, y'all.